Alright, I've got a domination replay for you today. This is going to be showcasing pretty much just a unit I think counters the entirety of the Ogre Kingdom's roster. Grand Cannons for Cathay, or just cannons in general. Any faction I think that has cannons when Immortal Empires drops, except for maybe Dwarves. These cannons I think just, they counter Ogres so well. They will take off models. If for any of you that haven't seen cannons absolutely obliterate an Ogre line, try playing Ogres into Cathay, they'll probably bring cannons and you will feel the pain. Like, it's really tough, the amount of damage these cannons can do. As you can see, my opponent is playing Ogres and he took his entire army into the forest. He knew I was playing Cathay, he knew that I had cannons, and so he wanted to avoid that entirely. So he's not really giving me a good line of sight here. I do get some pot shots into these Saber Tusks. This is one way to try and deal with cannons as Ogres, but the main reason I think Ogres are so hard countered by cannons is because they don't have very effective counters to deal with them. As you can see, these Saber Tusks are threading the needle. They're able to get past my infantry line, and now they're trying to book it down to take out one of these Grand Cannons. I start drawing it back. I've got Celestial Dragon Guard and Jade Lancers here. Let's see how much damage these Grand Cannons take. Let's see if this actually gets them offline at all. You can also bring a big reason the Ogres can't counter cannons very well is because they don't have any flyers. You can bring a Beastcaster and summon a Manticore, and that will be able to get on top of cannons, but the same thing's pretty much going to happen. As you saw, those Saber Tusks rampaged, and those cannons were safe, and these cannons, they have 4 cannons still left. Like, I did not lose a single cannon model there. I did take some HP damage, and like, it was good in theory, but those Saber Tusks were not able to take it down. I do have to apologize in advance. My voice is pretty shot. I had a cold this past week, so the uploads might not be as consistent for a few days, but we'll get back on top of it. Either way, I deal with these Saber Tusks. I am playing Cathay here. My opponent is a friend of mine playing Ogres, and we were just kind of testing out exactly how the Ogres might deal with cannons. Now, he's brought Lead Belcher line, which is actually really good against the infantry of Cathay. They will absolutely demolish. There's some good cannon shots coming in. You see the damage it does. Just killing multiple models of these Lead Belchers. No, Lead Belchers will damage Cathay infantry really well. Oh, just look at the damage. That was one volley of cannons. 10 to 15% off of all of these units. How many models did we drop? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Like 12? Nuts. Anyway, before we get too off topic here, we are in a domination battle. I am going for a triple cap here. My opponent wants to avoid this middle bit as much as possible. He knows I have triple cannons that are going to just obliterate any Ogre line he brings around. So he's going to go for 0.3, and he's really gunning for 0.1 over here. I summoned a Celestial Dragon Warrior summon, trying to get some of those Lead Belchers. I did get a decent amount of HP damage on him. Oh, looks like we got another summon coming down. Don't know if I'm going to be able to catch any of them there. But I've been able to triple cap my opponent, which is really useful for me. This 0.2, he's not even going to contest. I've got cannons in the back line just waiting for anything to shoot at. And this replay may not showcase a lot of like value that I get from Grand Cannons. They're probably not going to get a ton of gold value. It's really just the zone of control that they give when your opponent especially knows you have cannons. If he takes cannons, he's going to be... if he tries to come through the middle points and I've got cannons, I'm going to be laying on the hurt. He will be feeling it. Ooh, looks like I'm threading some Peasant Horsemen, again, to these Lead Belchers. The Lead Belchers are one of the bigger threats. If you bring cannons as Cathay, you want to kill Lead Belchers. They can mulch your infantry, the rest of it, like, if you've got spears, which is what I've brought, just a big army of spears, they're going to be able to take down any Ogre Bulls, trade upwards into Man-Eaters, Iron Guts, all the likes. And this is going pretty darn well for us. He's left his Slaughtermaster in the Celestial Dragon Guard unit, and they're getting a bunch of value. Just absolutely chomping down that Lord. So you watch this. He's bringing in, he wants to get these cannons offline. And he's bringing in some Saber Tusks to come around. I've just made a long line. I would not recommend doing this against most matchups, but when you're against Ogres, they don't really have magic that has wind spells. It's Lore of Beasts and Lore of Ma, and where there are some really good blob destroying spells. See those cannons just wreck them. They don't have anything that can punish this kind of a line. So I've literally just made a wall of spears and halberds to protect an entire line of cannons. So he's got nothing good to come around here. He did take point 3 from me, which is really good. That's very essential. I was able to cap it for the first little bit, which helped me get a nice good lead on these victory tickets. But point 2 is really not going to be something he wants to contest very much. Point 1, oh, it looks like he's bringing the Sky Striders through. This is one of the reasons I think Ogres will probably struggle even with cannons. I had these Jade Lancers holding these Sky Striders up. Now that the Jade Lancers are behind them, I've got a different unit trying to hold them up. They can kind of just walk right through the Celestial Dragon Guard. So dwarves don't have a cavalry unit with mass. They don't have a cav unit that can push past infantry and then get to the cannons. Luckily for me, I was able to break these Sky Striders off. The cannon's doing a ton of damage and the Jade Lancers can chase them off. My point 1 is just really, really solidly held there. I think he should be moving his forces down here, trying to grab that point 1. He's bringing these lead belchers around. I think he's going to try and get an angle to shoot on these infantry. I am moving them up, which isn't probably the smartest idea. But I didn't want to just be wasting my time with these units. So I'm moving them up. I'm going to see if I can get on top of these lead belchers. Look at the damage they do. This is why you want to bring cannons as Cathay, because you can hard counter these lead belchers. You do so much damage to them, and they can just eviscerate entire units. Let's see if that Maw spell hits. Ooh, it got a lot of damage onto those Peasant Long Spearmen. It looks like there's more Saber Tusk around there. Alright, so I'm bringing down my Dragon Blooded. Just want to keep them from firing. I've also got the reverse spell. It's called, what is it called? Missile Mirror. So just to keep them from firing while my infantry come and engage, I've got the spell Talons of the Night on these lead belchers. Looks like he's going to drop a heal, but I've got Longma Riders coming in, and this is pretty much going to shut down the lead belchers regardless. Even though I couldn't get cannons on them, they're not defended at this point too much over at point 1. My opponent's going to try and come around with his forces on point 3. He's going to try and take point 2 from me. But this game has just been a lot of control. My opponent has so little that he can do. The moment he peeks out, he's going to get shot up by these cannons. Yeah, the Saber Tusks are running. So he's going to come around. I've got a bunch of Peasant Horsemen I'm spawning in. They're going to be able to keep all my cannons safe still. Some Jade Lancers. Cannon shots going in here. I do have a good enough angle. And let's see the damage ensue. Oh, it's not too good. Could have been better. I believe my opponent's summoning in some... Yeah, there we go. So he's got some Sky Striders. He's got some Happy Feet there. He's dodging pretty well. But since I moved up my halberds and spears, he sees an opening. He's going to give us a nice little charge. I think he's trying to use my infantry as a screen, but something that's really nice when you're fighting ogres is ogres are so tall that the cannons can shoot over your infantry. Sometimes even your cavalry, I think in this case. But I've got Jade Lancers, and they're going to keep the ogres away from my cannons. And the amount of damage these cannons do, it's just good night. So we did lose 1 point, but we have enough victory tickets with these 2 points that it's a very easy win for us. This is a pretty short one, but I really just wanted to showcase why I think ogres struggle immensely into cannons. I didn't get a ton of value on him, but again, it was that zone of control. He could not cap points. He couldn't get... The moment he got to a point besides that far one, I would have fire arc on him, and I would just obliterate his infantry. So ogres, I think, struggle greatly into cannons. You can do some funny things with, like, the Great Maw. You can have a Maw spell that, if you overcast it, it can one-shot a cannon. Again, like I said, taking a Beastcaster, summoning in a Manticore. And if you can get past the lines with your Saber Tusk, that's probably the most reliable way to shut down those cannons. But realistically, if your opponent's playing well, you're not going to get those opportunities. As you can see, I kept his caster away. He couldn't get close enough to my cannons. I think ogres would benefit greatly in a DLC in the future if they got maybe like a Blood Vulture unit. Something like as chaffy as Fellbats or even Carrion, just super duper weak flyer, but something that can actually pressure cannons, right? Can force your opponent to get a little bit into the air game, bring Longma to protect them. But maybe we'll get that, maybe we won't. I don't think that's in any army book. So regardless, just wanted to kind of showcase that. Can't cannons are very, very good into ogres. So if you ever play Cathay into ogres, be it domination or land battle, I think cannons are an extremely good pick against them. You do have to make sure you're on an open map, like Death Pass or Arnheim even. I think Battle for Itz is probably the best one, and yeah, it's a really, really, really good pick into ogres. But regardless, I'll leave it there. Sorry that I sound awful today and I seem pretty slow. I'm still recovering from a rough cold, and I should be tip-top shape by the time Immortal Empires drops, so looking forward to that. We'll have plenty of content on the way. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.